Brandon, what you got, man? Did you showing us a new song or what?
I have my guitar, but I'm trying to get my Pro Tools open just in case we need to play something. So
Cool, man.
Dude,
Cool.
what was that riff we wrote the other night for the rock and roll song that we
can you play it? Can you hear that?
Yeah, we can hear that better in your voice, actually.
Can you hear my voice now better than the guitar?
That but how did that go? Listen to the sound of my voice. This is David Lee Roth. Right? I love it, dude. We wrote that the other night, and I was like, Brandon, we need something that goes kind of like this, and because I've got this idea for a song, and we're hopping around with different kind of progressions and vibe and feel things, and so that what we came up with, that's even more, it's very more us than what I was, because we were kind of headed towards this Buck Cherry kind of thing.
Okay.
And then Brandon's like, dude, we got to darken up, man. We're not that pretty, and so it's cool. I love it.
Does this have, when I play this, does it have distortion on it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, a little bit. It's kind of natural distortion.
Yeah.
But can you we need you to turn your microphone up just a little bit. That's all.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
That's good.
Is
right
that
there.
Better?
Yeah, that's
all right.
That is better. Awesome, man. Yeah, that's cool. It's good to have you guys, man.
Yeah, dude. I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
I've been looking forward to this all week.
Yeah, me too, man. That's just way cool. I should introduce you guys, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
You guys got a lot going on. I have the Loyal Order with me, at least a portion of it. I have Brandon Cook and Jeff Buehner from the Loyal Order. And
how's it going?
They just released Fuck or Fight, the latest single. Is 22 on the rock chart, climbing the charts, over 260,000 views with the video. You guys released Ready for Dead like almost 2 years ago. That did well. The Loyal Order self-titled albums out there, doing well. You guys are doing great, man. It's great to have you here, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Good to be here.
I'm very happy to be here. This is awesome.
Yeah, way cool. Are you surprised by the success of the album? These are tough times. The success of the album is tremendous. I see the chart, and especially like Spiderweb Radio playing a lot of great stuff. You guys are always up there. It's really cool.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's been very refreshing for us to like take this thing that what originally was just kind of the inception was more of a studio project, and then it began to grow, and we ended up going, hey, we got almost a full-length record here, let's do something with this, and people kept asking for more, and so we've been really pleasantly surprised with the response that we've got, radio and our videos and everything. It's we've been just very humbled and to be accepted and to be reaching as far as we have.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. We went over I talked to Brandon, what was it, 4 or 5 months ago?
It was in March of last year, March or April of last year.
Was it really? Oh man, that's just way too long, man. But we went over a little bit of your writing process, but you guys pretty much like you were talking about with that riff, and you come in with an idea, Brandon throws down a riff, you guys talk about it and just start forming these songs, right? Is that how the writing process went for the rest of the album?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like with the very first song that we did, we wrote a few like sketches to try to present to the guy we were working with. And from that moment that we started writing those things, Jeff was like, I'm thinking of this. And I went, well, I'm thinking of this. And we just kind of batted ideas back and forth. And, sometimes it wasn't even playing anything. It was just a number or like, I just want it to be heavier or darker, and then, one of us sort of interprets it that way. And it definitely comes from like that moment that it just inspires that that thing to just go, here it is, here's the idea, it's presented to you, now get out your toothbrush and do the archaeology of like figuring this cool idea that's in your brain out.
Mhm.
And just digging it up and making it, resurrecting the dinosaur, I guess, as it was,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's how it has always worked for me. But with Jeff, it's different because he's just as inspired, and I haven't really worked with anybody quite like that before. And when the ideas are coming at you that are just the same, you know, I perceive them as like, quality ideas, and it's like, wow, okay, wow, this is really cool. What do we do with this?
Mhm.
And
That's awesome.
Yeah.
the industry, or not the industry like the music industry, but like the industrial nature of building just kind
Right.
of keeps going.
Yeah, that's great. Is it you two basically? Do you have any input from the other guys?
Well, originally it was just Brandon and I. We were writing songs we wrote a song for a regional cable theme theme song for a reality show. Thank you to my own brain. I'm trying to get this out. It was a reality show that we were asked to write a theme song for, and uh, that's kind of where it started. Although I did have a couple songs in the can prior to that I was afraid to show anybody. I'm a bass player by trade, and the singing things are like this whole new animal for me. But which is fun because I get to learn a new thing, and I've been surrounded by great singers my whole life, and so I've never really felt the need to sing. And but I've realized how much they are a part of, because my respect for them is so high, like Jeff Carroll, and Michael Armando and some other guys around town here. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of, it. To answer your question though, it's like it originally started with Brandon and I, and then now we've got Patrick Young, we've got Kyle Baltus and Justin Gibson, and these guys are all like top shelf musicians. And so we are going to incorporate them in the writing of this next record. So even more so, Hellfire was a song that we all kind of composed together. I mean, Brandon and I actually was an old song that I had batted around a few times and it wouldn't leave my head, and it ended up being a really cool song. Brandon got a hold of it and fixed some things, and kind of, we wrote the chorus together, etc. I had the verse and pre-chorus in my head already. And then when Patrick got a hold of it, he wrote this really cool bass line to it, this kind of cheap trickish. And I'm like, dude, that is so cool. It's like had classic rock elements, but it felt so good. And at first we were like, does that fit? But it's like, yeah, it does,
Yeah.
And then Kyle writes too. So I can't wait to like, bounce some of this new stuff off of them.
Yeah. And that's really great when you have a band where everybody's a writer, everybody's involved, everybody has that great input like that, man. That's
Mm-hmm.
it's I was playing it for the guys. I go to work at night, and
Uh-huh.
I played it for the guys at night, and they love the idea that they heard a lot of different things. They heard
Cool.
a little Foo Fighters, they heard a little bit of Alice in Chains, they heard all these different kinds of influences, and but you guys were you
Mm-hmm.
at the same time. How would you guys describe? I know your influences. We'll go over that too, but what do I tell somebody when they say, "What does the Loyal Order sound like?" you know,
Well, for me, like what I bring to the table is like I'm majorly influenced by like the thrash metal and really heavy stuff from the early 90s. Like I'm really super inspired by like Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Sepultura, Testament, really the heavy bands, the thrash metal bands of that. But then, as time went on, I really got into the grunge guys like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, and as my writing evolved and I went through music school, um, artists like Miles Davis and John Coltrane infiltrated, and Stravinsky and Beethoven and things like that. that we had to study and we had to get down into them. So when I got done with music school, I did the same level of study on like Metallica, and I was like, oh, what are these guys doing? You know, and started in, you know, not only like learning the riffs and learning everything, but figuring out how it works and what does the melody do against this accompaniment. And so when I come to the table for writing, it's like I'm willing to try almost anything to make a song work. And I've got,
it's true,
you know, just have the ideas sort of at my fingertips ready to roll, you know. So if there's a gap somewhere in somebody's idea, it's like, hey, what about this, you know?
Yeah, but what do we sound like? I mean, you know, that's what
what do we actually sound like?
Yeah, who are we? What do you? That's what he was. You know.
My whole goal is to make us sound like ourselves. So like I can just talk about the influence of those people and Foo Fighters and Incubus and all that stuff. And Voivod's one of my favorites. So I'm sure all that stuff just kind of seeps through.
Sure, I would say I would agree. You know, I mean, my goal with this band has always been to, you know, keep rock and roll and all the influence that we've got, you know. And you were right, there's Alice in Chains, there's, as your shirt says, Iron Maiden, there's you know, there's all that stuff in there, and the grunge era is in there. There's you know, flashes of the 80s in there, there's all this stuff. And I mean, for me, it was basically like having a guitarist like Brandon and you know, like Justin, and having that lineup, and Patrick, you know, I mean, it's limitless, but it's very guitar driven, you know. So my goal was to, you know, find my face vocally and lyrically inside of this writing, that, you know, and having, you know, having that guitar edge to it, you know, that just that grindy rock and roll thing, but have it be, you know, put it into a modern rock, almost pop production, you know, and you know, and have it be able to compete with a lot of the stuff of the you know, modern rock bands that are out there doing well at radio, etc. And you know, have it stand its own ground, you know, and inside of that. And you know, I think we've accomplished that, at least, you know, to a degree, you know.
I think so too, for sure. Yeah, I mean,
mm-hmm.
like I say, I played it for these guys, and they just love the diversity of hearing all these different things coming at them. You know, it was really cool to see the reactions, you know, because I had been listening to the record for a while now. But you know, to see somebody new listening to the record, just it's cool to see, you know, that, you know, because more often than not, I hear people tell me, you know, there's no good new music out there. You know, how many times do you hear that? For me, there's too much good music out there. I can't get to it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's so much shit that drops on my desk that I want to listen to, but there's not enough hours in the day. You know, and then you go on something like Spotify, and you know, this sounds like this, there's related artists, and I'm like, oh no, you know, don't give me any more great stuff, I can't take it all.
It's a deep rabbit hole, you know, that you find yourself going down, and it's just like, wow, there is so much good stuff out there, I don't know what to say or do, you know. But you know, and I respect everybody that's out there in this industry right now, because it's a tough one, you know. I mean, the money's different, and you know, and people don't understand, like, I mean, streaming music is one thing, and that's great, you know, million, you know, I get 1 million streams on Spotify, you get a little check, you know. But it's hard to like you know, sustain it,
right,
you know. You know, because it all takes money, you know, it all you know, it all takes capital to, like, you know, put an idea on paper, so to speak. And you know, we've been fortunate and able to do that, you know. And but I respect anybody who's really sticking their neck out there right now, and saying, hey, listen to us, you know. And you know, perpetuating the industry is, you know, especially rock and roll or whatever genre it happens to be, you know. I respect that, because it's a different game than it used to be, you know.
It was hard before, it's really tough now. You know, and I just talked to somebody from you know, a really hardcore thrash band, yesterday, and they're they're local pretty much to the Lansing, Michigan area, and they're putting their money into it and trying to do something, trying to make it happen. Good band, and I'm like, what can I do to help? But we need a group of people to get music like yours and his out there, and
Sure.
it's a group effort. It takes a village, you might say.
Yeah.
It really does, man. I would be interested to have you. I don't know if you'd be willing to do it or not, but when you're talking to your buddies at night or whatever I'd love to have you like videotape and like hear what they have to say. And
that would be cool. That would be, maybe I can do that.
Yeah, and drop it to us, like drop it to us in a edit together a little movie or whatever. I'd love to hear what they have to say, because we can perceive what people say. We have people around us but we too are locked down, but we can't really go experience the country right now or the world as much as we normally could. And I'd love to hear what people have to say, because it inspires me, and music without the listener is nothing.
Yeah.
And it's that circular energy that happens. It's like, what do you like about this band? What is it you think is cool?
Right. Last time we talked, Brandon, I asked you, I wouldn't be the musician I am today if it weren't for fill in the blank. And I remember your answer for sure.
What was it?
What do you think it was, Jeff?
If it wasn't for Brandon, you mean what he would say?
Yeah,
he wouldn't be the musician today if he hadn't have met Marty Friedman. I was pretty sure that was part of it.
That's
correct?
It.
Yeah,
that was it. Definitely.
Yeah.
So I'll pose that question to you, Jeff. You wouldn't be the musician you are today if it weren't for what?
If it weren't for like all the bands that I mentioned before, but I mean, as far as the singer goes, like the songwriting is what has really inspired me. Some of the characteristics of some of these guys that from the grunge era and the current like modern rock artists and stuff like that. But really, I wouldn't be the musician I am today if I hadn't have played with some incredible singers that I mentioned before. And Brandon has really brought a lot out of me. He believes, he was like, no, I believe in this, and you're doing okay, because I was like, it's like walking out on thin ice for me when I first started this singing thing.
Right.
And Kevin Hahn really our first producer really helped me, go, hey, there might be something there, you're gonna have to work,
Right.
And then Rob Dacre, our producer, has really pulled a lot out of me, man. He's not afraid to tell me what he likes and what he doesn't like, and I attribute a lot of who I am now to the people that I'm influenced and affected by. A couple vocal coaches that I've had. Eugene was this opera singer guy around here in town. I took my first vocal lessons from him. I went and saw Andrew Paul Woodworth, and he taught me some stuff. And just a lot of the coaching that I've had, along, couple that with the inspiration from the singers that I really enjoy. In our song Shavak Fall to Rise, there's a line that says, I got a message from a dead man's song, as one of the lines in there.
Mm-hmm.
And what that is you listen to these guys on the radio, Chris Cornell, Lane Staley, the list goes on, Chester, and somehow when they're no longer here, the message sticks a little bit better sometimes,
Right.
All those guys you listen to, it's like, wow, it's too bad he's gone now. Andrew Wood from Mother Love Bone, something about their melody and the way they delivered a line, and there's a message in that. It might have a deeper meaning. So I guess that's kind of a really long paragraph to answer your question, but it's all true.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. There's there's a certain, you listen to that stuff of these guys that are gone, and I think you really, you're not going to get anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is, it makes that powerful stuff just beyond, even explanation. Uh, you know, I loved Cornell when I was listening to him when he was alive. I thought he was one of the best out there.
Sure.
Now the stuff it's coated in gold. It's just,
Sure.
it's all I have.
Right.
I treasure it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So
another aspect of it too is like the business guys that are in that have made bands succeed inspire the shit out of me. Like Nikki Sixx, for example. My God, Steve Harris, you're wearing his shirt right now. That guy went through like, I mean, Dave Murray was the first permanent member that stuck in that band, and he was like the 11th guy or something like that.
right.
So, I mean, it's the leadership that guys, they happen to both be bass players, but the leadership that they took in their sound and saying, no, this doesn't feel right. This guy's not going to work out, and because they were so intentional in their direction, and that's one of the cool things that Brandon and I do really well together. I mean, Brandon can Brandon, Patrick, everybody, but Brandon in particular, because I've been writing with him for so long. I mean, he can go any direction you want, I mean, he literally can, I'm giving you props here, brother, but it's like he can go any direction you want, and it's kind of cool sitting down with him, and he's learned my vocabulary, you know what I mean? He's learned probably where I want to go with something. So a lot of the times he'll throw something in there, and if I'm not inspired, he'll pull back on it and then just go this other direction with it, where he thinks that it's going to inspire me.
Yeah.
And I think that vocally, because if the inspiration isn't there melodically or lyrically in the chord progression that you're working along with, it's probably not going to get off the ground.
Yeah.
That plane ain't gonna fly.
Yeah, and I think, if you got to feel, especially as a vocalist, when you're feeling it and it's right in your wheelhouse, there's a difference to when you're singing the chart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to sing it in this key. I'm supposed to sound like this. Okay, but this is who I am. There's a distinct difference. You can tell when somebody's kind of doing what they're supposed to be doing and doing what they want to do.
That's where artistry comes in. That's it's like the definition of like being the difference between being a technician and reading it and trying to inject feel into something you're reading off of a page, which a lot of great musicians do that really well. But there's also this unseen thing that happens, a transcending moment where it becomes this, you intentionally put yourself in the place to write, and you're like, okay, let's do this, and then all of a sudden something clicks, and it becomes this whole act of receiving.
Yeah.
And so you're not really writing the song, you're receiving and downloading the song.
Right.
and then all the cool mojo starts to happen.
Yeah.
And the first time that happened to me was prior to even starting this band. It was a song called Colorblind that's on the record.
Yep.
I had no idea what the hell I was doing. It was like probably 5 years before I even thought about ever singing, but I did, it happened. And, it took a while to really get that song out. But that song was a labor of love and inspiration for a long time.
That's cool that you say that, because that was one of my questions. But let me go back to Falter Eyes there. That has, Brandon, you were saying that you're inspired by all that heavy hardcore stuff.
Yep.
That is the song. I mean, that that has you all over it. And I remember you saying that last time, and I listened to that song, and I think it's by far the heaviest thing on the album. It really is just, it rips your face off. But what inspired that song? Now, I know, for anybody who doesn't know, that's Aramaic, sabachthani, or it's
Shavachthani. Yeah.
Yeah. Why has thou forsaken me? Yeah, it's biblical.
Yeah.
And it's right before the 23rd Psalm. And but what inspired, I mean, how'd you come up with that?
Well, we got a second offer to do a theme song from our friend Jeff Coxon. And so we actually wrote a whole other song, and he was like, I want it more like this. So we rewrote the thing that we were working on, and we were sitting in my apartment, and Jeff kind of just started
after
singing.
the Megadeth listening party.
Oh no, the first thing we wrote was after the Megadeth listening party. And then we came at, after we talked to Jeff, he was just like, I don't like it, So I was like, all right, whatever, and we kind of talked about it for a little bit, and he showed us some ideas that he was looking at, and Jeff started kind of singing rhythms that he wanted to do. And I was just like, oh, look like this, and we tuned the guitars down really low to like low C, which was like the first time I'd ever written anything in C. So it was really cool.
Wow.
And before the end of the first session, we had most of the song shaped out. And then Jeff grabbed the bass and he's like, what about this? And he plays this bass line that's the digga digga gun gun digga 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 dunk. And I was like, I'm not sure that fits. And he goes, just make it fit. And I went, okay. And so we I went, all right. And I wrote the whole middle section based on that riff. And I was like, all right, you want that riff, huh? Here it comes.
There we go.
Yeah.
I wrote the harmony solo and that bass line, the bass break. I was just watching a David Ellefson thing about the bass break, the famous bass breaks of Megadeth. And that one actually came from, I stole it off of, the idea for it came from the 598 EP by Metallica.
Yep.
And so like and I showed it to Jeff after like a couple days, and he's just like, dude, you came up with that just for my bass line? I'm like, yeah, man, your bass line was like, you wanted it, so here it is, and and then I wrote this kind of, I mean, at first it started out as kind of just dumb shred. It was just like full board shredding. And so the guitar solo was there, and I had it harmonized and everything, and they were like, I think it's a little overboard right now. But then
we're like, how many notes can you fit into 20 seconds?
But you got
20,762.
The next step of the solo, after they were like, hey, just tone it down a little bit, I just went totally Dean DeLeo after that. So like the next section of the solo after the opening shred was trying to sort of like make it sound like something Dean DeLeo would do, and I just love his guitar solos. They're so quirky and like
they're unusual,
almost out of place, but like they fit perfectly for that song. And it really that really helped me get inspired to finish it up. And I think we rewrote the verse after that, but like it came together really quick. Is good.
Well, we kind of wrote the verse. It just kind of as a, as we were kind of experimenting with the rhythm pattern is what we were doing, because I wanted to kind of like do like a, like a hard rock, almost not rap, but syncopation like a rap, and that's where the verse came from. Yeah. So
I mean, it's such a killer song. How about lyrically? With
lyrically. Yeah. That song, it's really got a lot of depth to it, but it's basically, the Shavaktani, you have forsaken me, you have left me, da da da. It's basically, and it says, I fall to rise, life is separating, blood runs cold outside, and it's basically about dying to your perceived self. Like when you grow up, society says you need to be a this or you need to be a that. And it's just like, and then you can get a good job and do, and it's like a lot of people find themselves, and that's great. I mean, you got to sustain yourself, right? But a lot of people find themselves, educating themselves, and 20 years later they realize they've gone down the wrong freaking road for a long time, and then but that passion is still tugging at them. That thing that it's created design, what you're created to do and be. we all have those things that we like gravitate towards, like, you know, you hear music and it's like, what's that? And or see a piece of a painting, or it could be math, for God's sakes. It could be number, it could be anything. But we all kind of gravitate towards something. And the song is really about a fight within yourself, and you know, not letting fear control you, and dying to yourself, and literally forsaking the person that you were, and you know, and separating yourself from that, and becoming you know, who you are supposed to be.
Right, your true self. So, yeah, it's an inspiring song, man, and it's heavier than shit, and yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, it's like, man, what a way to end the album. And you know, the rest of the album is strong and heavy, but this just is like, you know, we're here, we came, we saw, we conquered, and what a great way to leave.
That was the first time we met Tom Hazart too, was when we were at that Megadeth listening party, and we were watching that, and I elbowed Brandon. I looked at him, I go, when we get home, we're gonna write the heaviest song we've ever written, and it kind of all came together at the same time with that other theme song thing we were gonna do, and it just kind of came out.
When we were driving around LA that week, we were listening to was Machine Head and Lamb of God. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We were listening to Machine Head and Lamb of God.
Halo, man. We were listening to Halo a lot.
Driving down I-5, just like, fuck yeah.
That'll do it, man. That'll inspire you to write some heavy shit.
Yo, dude. Halo is one of the great, that song, holy shit, man. I never realized how good it was until I listened to it like 10 times. And then I'm like, it's even better than I thought it was, you know.
Yeah, one of the things that were really inspired by Machine Head is their producer just gets this amazing tom sound, like the drums, tom-toms are so clear and just perfectly mixed into the album. Juan Urtiega,
guitar tones too,
and
guitar tones too, man. Good.
Totally. Yeah,
it's funny. I mean, I first got hold of Machine Head when I saw them. They opened up for COC, Corrosion and Conformity, and you know, it's like, okay, Machine Head. You know, I love Deep Purple. You know, they came out.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
This ain't Deep Purple, man. I was like, wow.
It's definitely not Bush.
I mean,
Gavin Rossdale can't do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was great stuff. And then I, you know, explored the catalog, and yeah, I'm a fan for sure. Great stuff. You know, and that's just it. I mean, I'm so discouraged when I hear that there's no great music. It's like, you know, listen to this. Just do yourself a favor.
Yeah.
I want to go back to Colorblind. And it's funny you said that, you know, that you worked on that. It was heavy to work on. Because I wanted to ask you what the most difficult song on the album was to write. And Colorblind seems like it would be a huge undertaking with the strings and, you know, incorporating the orchestration. There's a really interesting guitar sound on that song as well. So yeah, was that the most difficult song to write?
I think the I mean, at first it was one of the easiest songs, because I literally didn't know what I came home one day and grabbed an acoustic guitar and I played a wrong chord, and I'm like, wow, that's a wrong chord, but it sounds cool. And it was the first chord of the song. It was a different formation. One of my fingers went to the wrong place. And I wrote this little diverse chord progression, and I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. And the next day I came home and I literally just sat down and I wrote the first verse to it, and it was just sitting there waiting for me to pick up a pencil, and it just kind of did that. And I think it was hard in ways because, I mean, whose voice I was hearing in my head was Chris Cornell, and I was like, you know, I'll never be able to sing this song right, you know. And at that time I wasn't even singing, you know. It was just something I was doodling around with. And then when we took it in to do some demos, and we went in to demo it with our friend Kevin, the pre-chorus and the chorus presented themselves, and Brandon and Kevin kind of wrote the chord progressions for that. And and it just took a long time to finish because it's in my mind, you know, I mean, I don't know what anybody else thinks of it, but to me it's kind of a crown jewel in a lot of ways because it kind of introduced me to what I'm doing now. And so it has a lot of depth and meaning to me. And as far as the strings go, when we tracked it, I was talking to my producer and I said, you know what, I hear a little string part here, you know, and I think it would be really cool. I don't know if we could emulate it. We might have to do that part to tracks, because unless we get a guitar player that does that sort of thing, but you know, a utility guitar type guitar player.
Right.
But anyway, so I was like, I just hear a little string part right here in this one little spot. And he's like, let me see what I come up with. Maybe I can come up with something. And anyway, I just kind of left it at that and went home. And a couple days later, he called me up and he's like, hey, so I think I need you to come down to the studio. And I said, okay. And I go, do you do the string thing? And he goes, yeah, I think you need to come down. And so I'm like, oh God. So I hopped in my truck and drove down to the studio, and I walked in the room and I'm like, well, and he's like, and he got really kind of quiet. And he's just kind of like going like this. I'm like, Rob, what'd you do? And he goes, well, I kind of wrote a string part to it, but it's not just that one little part, it's the whole song.
Got a little bit carried away.
Anyway, I'm like,
thankfully.
oh my, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, he had a cello sample, and he literally composed that whole entire thing inside of the song.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like,
wow.
Damn.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's really well done. And Brandon, that guitar part, really a different sound. What'd you do with that?
Which part are you talking about?
It's hard to describe. And I'm not a player, so, but it's good. It's a really unique sound that you're getting, and it's about halfway through the track, I believe.
Like the main guitar solo, right?
Yeah. It's right before that. Yeah.
Well, we had completely recorded this song at one point, and it had a different guitar solo and a bunch of different guitar tones. And when we were going to finally finish this album, Rob started working on it, and he's like, we need new drums. You know, this drums sound too small. We got to make this sound really big. Okay, cool. So then the string part came, and then, you know, it was like, these guitar parts, they're not working with this, so let's redo it. And so each little thing it just kept getting better and better. And it was like, this guitar solo is it's not really enough. We need some more meat in this thing. And it was good, but it just wasn't like to the caliber of the rest of the song now. Right. You know, it sounded so great. And it was actually, that was one of the hardest parts for me to recompose, because I had this old solo stuck in my head. That was the day Dario was in the studio with us. Remember that, Jeff? Yeah. And so I sat there and kind of like, I must have taken like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours in the studio trying to reform this thing. But then I just found this one bend, and that I'd never done before. I was just like, that's usually when it happens for me. Like, I just go, F it, fuck it. I'm just going to do something totally off the wall. And I played it, and Jeff looked at me like, that thing, that's rad. And, you know, I really wanted it to be like this haunting, like ghostly, like wind in the trees, terrifying emotion, you know, that reflected some of the lyrics, you know, like the pain of, like, you know, going through that, of the sky breaking free from the sun, you know, what happens there. And so once I got into that mode, it just, these sounds just kept coming, and it really worked out. I love that solo. It's one of my favorites on the album.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't play a single fast lick in the whole tune. It was just like, it didn't call for it.
Mixing that song was a whole monster too. We did like 12 mixes of it, because in the outro there's so many things going on, you know.
Right.
You couldn't really, you know, Brandon had this, you know, this really bendy guitar thing going on there, and there's vocals, and then we reintroduced the pre-chorus halfway through it, and there's strings, and rhythm guitars and drums and screaming, and it
just
was
level
really
them all
hard.
out.
It was hard. It was really hard, man.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that song does stick out to me for that reason. That I think that solo is very comfortably numbish, Floyd like.
Yep.
Not so much in sound, I guess, but that concept of just tone, and it's not fast, it's not a showy kind of thing. It's just it's one of those
Yep.
that's just fits. It fits like a glove.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that I'm really hugely influenced by, David Gilmour, and I'll tell you, all that is my super killer Les Paul that I bought and my Marshall, and that's it. It's like got a couple of little like studio EQs and stuff on it, but that's it. It's just straight in.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah, and
maybe an overdrive. I don't think much more than that though.
right. Yeah, and it's not, like I say, it's not flashy. It's just well played, well placed.
Thanks,
Uh
man.
just a
Just
sweet
really, really disciplined part. It's just like, don't do too much, don't do too little.
right.
So just let it emote. And yeah, it's
And I think
totally
that's
cool.
the thing, that's the Gilmore thing is, he's great at what he doesn't play.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
totally.
the silence between the notes
Yeah.
sometimes, man, it's like everything. Because
It's
you yearn for the next note. You're like, wait, it's like
right. And then when you
that
get
hang time.
one, it's monumental. Just
Yeah,
one note is monumental.
yeah.
I don't know how, that's very, very difficult. And I think that's accomplished in colorblind for sure.
Thank you,
Yeah,
man.
that kind of
Thank you.
thing. I wanted to ask you about another song. This is a song that's not on the album. I came by this in the dark corners of the World Wide Web we have. Tears from Kelly. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that means a lot to you, especially Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Just tell me about the song. The story. I heard the story, and then I heard the song, and it was really impactful. Um, can we find that song? Tell us a story, but can we find that song somewhere other than those deep dark corners of YouTube?
Yeah, I definitely need to. We definitely need to put that one out there again. It was that song, like, again, was like a friend of mine reached out to me from high school who had moved to Australia, and she got married, had a couple kids, and ended up with cancer, and it was bad and aggressive, and I saw she had been back to visit, and she was in remission right then, and she was stayed. I grew up in a small town in the Oregon called The Dalles, Oregon, and 20,000 people ish. But she after she came back to visit, and she went back to Australia and went to get checked up, and it was back worse than before, and she just kind of at that point surrendered, and just like, what, I noticed she made a post on Facebook and said, hey, it's back, and I feel like I'm kind of rounding the last curve here, and I said, if there's anything I can do, Kelly, just let me know. And she said, write me a song. And I'm like, oh, Kelly, oh my God, you realize what you just did?
I mean,
I'm like, how do I say this? So anyway, I sat down with an acoustic guitar, and she had told me the song is literally her, the lyrics are her talking to her husband, basically, of how I would perceive, that. And so it's a whole conversation with her side of the conversation with her husband, telling him, if I wish I could change this, but this is where I'll be, and and all that stuff. And it what the challenge was, it was going deep, and how do you say I'm gonna die without saying I'm dying, you
yeah.
know in the process of it, and it all kind of landed in my lap. It was definitely, it was definitely emotional writing the song.
Wow.
And because I went there, and because and she kind of just anticipated, me, writing a little acoustic song for her and singing it for her, on Facebook Live or something.
Right.
And I said, no, I'm going to dig all the way into this. And I found out she had limited time, really limited time. I went to Rob and I said, hey man, I got this song, da da da. And then Brandon's like, yeah, I want to help, and of course Brandon put his special sauce on it, and we had Joe Menges come in and play drums. He's a phenomenal drummer here in town, and I played bass on that one and as well, and did the lyrics and the vocals and stuff. And then Rob, he was happy to produce it, and we decided to catalog the process in a video, because she's in Australia, she can't come hang out.
Right.
And the last piece of the puzzle was, I found out that Dan Reed was going to be in town from Prague. I don't know if you know who the Dan Reed Network is.
Yep.
Okay, so Dan's a good friend of ours, and he's another one of my huge inspirations.
Yep.
And anyway, I found out he was going to be in town. I asked Rob, I said, do you think Dan would be willing to do a little cameo on this deal and sing a little bit here and there, do some backups, whatever? And he goes, I'll ask him. And Dan showed up in town and he called me and he said, hey man, honored
cool
to do it, and so I went down there and actually videotaped him with my phone, like while he was doing it, and that's how we kind of put the video together for it. And when it was done, I think she had probably about 5 months left of life, and so I just dropped it on her timeline one night, and and I went to bed and woke up, and it had like overnight it got like 7,000 plays or something like that. It was crazy. I know. And she was commenting and crying, and I think it was probably one of the coolest things that I've ever put myself in the middle of, even though it was heavy and
yeah, but man, that's so yeah, I mean, I heard that story and then watched the video, and I'll put a link at the bottom here so people can see it and hear it. And
awesome.
Thank you.
It was heavy, but man, I can't imagine what she felt like hearing that, and what a gift. It's just a gorgeous, beautiful gift.
Oh, thank you, man. It was like one of my favorite things that I've ever done, and again, it wasn't easy. The one of the verses, I can't remember if it was the second or third verse, like I had everything but that pesky second verse, and I had the images. I had there's a line in there, it says and I will light up the sky, triangle, diamond, ring. And at one point I'd asked her, I said, do you have any like relics around your house that are just you? And she sent me a picture of this diamond ring, and she goes, it glows in the dark. It's it's a triangle diamond ring. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. So that was stuck in my head. I'm like, how can I put that into the song?
Right.
And so I drove up to Mount Hood, which is an hour from here, and it's this volcano that's non-active volcano. And I drove up to the base of the mountain. I just cleared my head, turned around till I got the green light, turned around, drove home, and I put it into the second verse, and I used it and it says, and I will. Her and her husband used to go to the Great Barrier Reef and watch. That was their favorite place, and so I thought, how can I incorporate all that, and so that verse is, and I will light up the sky, triangle, diamond, ring. It's her showing him that she's there,
Right. Oh,
I will light up the sky, triangle, diamond, ring. You'll find me in our sunsets and in the eyes of all our kids. So I was just like,
brutal.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, it's just
dude, I bawled my freaking. I mean,
oh man,
it was horrible. Yeah, it was.
Right now, hearing it, it's like. But I can't, like I say, I can't imagine what she felt like. It's a beautiful song. I mean, it's just great. And I mean, how was that for you, Brandon? I mean, did you get to know her at all?
Yeah, I connected with Kelly and Matt, her husband, and it was just a really touching moment for me in my life, and just realized, that real connections between man and woman still exist in this planet. You know, like there's lots and lots of like pulp and you know, lore in the media and in television shows that nobody's happy and marriages don't work and connections not real and all this stuff. And like you meet somebody like Matt and Kelly and they're going through this insane ordeal together, you know, and she was so young. She's not like
Yeah.
65 or 70. She's like early 50s at best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, you know, Matt loved her so much, you know, and like she loved Matt so much. And I mean, they changed their whole lives to be together. And, you know, to, you know, mostly, you know, the connection with my very good friend and seeing what he was going through dealing with it really sort of brought that emotion out in me, and it just inspired me to give one of my best performances on, you know, on record, you know, to just give it my all, you know, for this, you know, a lot of the tune was done when I got there, you know, and it was more like a lot of what I did was texturing and like, here's what you do and here's the song, Brandon, like put your thing on this. And I'm like, okay. And so I kind of colored it the way it just felt natural to do. And you know, Rob put this really cool, this awesome guitar solo on it. Everyone, a couple of people I showed it to, they're like, "Why is Rob doing the guitar solo?" And I'm like, "Cause it's awesome, you know, it's really great, you know." And like he played this really like memorable melodic guitar solo on it. It was beautiful, and you know, of course, Joe just laid down this. When you get to play guitar on top of Joe Mangus's drums, it's like, I mean, just like Kyle, but like, you know, it's just devastating to just be sitting on top of this like magnitude of drumming. And so
Just pocket.
yeah,
Just the yeah. So
and
cool.
the rhythm section of Jeff and Joe is like two brontosauruses walking through the forest, just like you know. Brontosaurus is a fictional dinosaur, but you know, Brachiosaurus, right?
There you go.
There you go.
It was really good.
Will we see an official release of Tears from Kelly?
You know, I'll have to talk to our distribution about that because I think it might be time to put it out there. And you know, I didn't want to like, even though she told me, she said one of the things she said, she goes, if she goes, the only condition I have is you have to get famous, so everybody knows about me. And I'm like, I'm like, well, I don't know about the famous part, but I'll put it out there. And I just didn't want. I've seen a lot of times where people really capitalize on somebody's demise, you know, and it's just like I didn't want it to be about that, and that's why it's kind of, you kind of have to look for it a little bit, you know. And but she told me, she said, do it, you know, put it out there, you know, get it out there as far as you can, and yeah, make, you know, capitalize on it. And I've thought of different ways on how to put it out there the right way, you know.
I totally get it.
And like, you know, maybe some of it to a benefit or something like that would be cool, you know. But the really magical thing about it is after we released it, I literally slept for like 12 hours after we were done. I went to bed that night and I just passed the hell out. I was like at dawn, you know,
emotionally exhausted.
Just the okay, upload it, and that click when it downloads and you post, you know, that was like probably one of the hardest parts of the whole thing. But you know, yeah, I mean, it was definitely, you know, it was tough the whole time.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we should do it. I think we should put it out there. I think it's time. And what I was going to say too is that after I did that, I kind of just was a hermit for about 2-3 weeks. I just had to kind of wash it all off. And we had just went to this pub down the street, and because some of our friends were playing you know, some cover tunes that night. And so I went in the door, and I literally got all these people came and they started telling me, "Oh, I heard that song. My God, dude, da, da, da. Did you know that I'm a survivor? Can I play that song at my grandpa's funeral? did you know that I had, and I just was like, wow. And it was like an hour and a half of just talking to people about their situation and how it affected and impacted them. So that was the secondary blessing of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I didn't know what to say. I was just flabbergasted, like I didn't know what to, but yeah, it was,
Well, I think that's what you guys put into the world that guys like me don't. The blessings of music, man. I mean, I listen to music and it touches my life. And no matter what it is, it touches everything. Touches my life in a different way, and that's why I respect what you guys do as musicians so much. Is because it's I see it as such a gift, and I think a lot of people do. You listen to something and it touches your life in a certain way, and I can't give that to people. It's it's not something that I can do. You guys do that. And I hope that a time like that you realize the power that you wield with what you do.
mhm.
And it's pretty great. What you do is something special for sure.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just an honor to be able to receive something like that, and then the ability to deliver it too. Is like,
Yeah,
it's
powerful stuff.
humbled.
Powerful stuff. uh Brandon, what's going on in the Black and Blue camp? I gotta ask you anything.
Well, we were supposed to be on the Operation Monster Beach, but they just recently canceled that, or rescheduled it, I should say. And I think something's coming up in the summertime for that world, but we just basically got bumped to the next year. We're still scheduled to be on the Kiss cruise this fall. Um, so me and Patrick will be doing that, but not exactly sure if that's going to happen. Alls I know is that
Right.
I've been told it's happening, so I'm going to be planning to be ready for that.
There you go.
When
Yeah.
is that, Brandon? When is it again?
I believe it's Halloween weekend, but it's sold out. The Kiss Cruise is sold out. So,
Mm.
but the cool thing about it is, there's the potential that we might get to play with Tommy, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
They keep everything pretty secret. Not Jamie and Pat always tell me stuff, but like Tommy and Gene and all those guys, they like keep everything
Oh yeah.
the veil of secrecy. So, which is
Mhm.
cool, man. That's kind of how you create that mystery around rock and roll. And I'm just gonna look at it like, uh, okay, this is marketing 101. This is how to put on shows 101. This is how to
Yep.
like, be involved in something bigger than yourself 101, and learn as much as I can while I'm there. And I'm really excited about it. And
Yeah.
I
I've
love
always
Black
tried.
and Blue, man. I'm a big fan of the band too.
Yep. I
Back when I was
remember.
yeah,
Yep.
and as a kid, I was just like, damn, those guys are cool. And they actually played at my high school.
Oh really? Oh,
when I was
that's
a
cool.
when I was a freshman, I think. I was like, what's that? Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, and they're a Portland band, yeah, from
Yep.
the
Yeah.
beginning.
Well,
Hmm.
the every two of the guys live in LA now, Pete and Jamie, but like
Right.
that once they kind of realized that they could actually do it, they went to LA a bunch of times back and
Like
forth,
everybody else.
and
Hmm.
drove the 18 hours back and forth, on weekends where they had gigs. And then they started getting offers right away, so they're like, screw this, we're doing it. Jamie's very like, this is what's going to happen. Once he sees the vision, he just snap
He's there.
decisions, we're doing it. So yeah, it's pretty awesome to be a part of that legacy. And now that Patrick's playing in our band, it's like
Yeah.
that you know it's kind of a missing piece, because we were always I mean, like, for bass playing, we already have a great bass player in the band, but he doesn't want to play
Right.
bass. So it's like, well, how do we replace that? Like, come on, like, dude, why don't you just play bass, Jeff? And like, I don't know if we had arguments, but I was definitely like pushing come on, dude, play bass. You got the sound. And then I was at Black and Blue rehearsal one day, and I said, hey Pat, show me this riff. Can you play this? And I played a Shavakhtani, Fall to Rise,
Yeah.
and he was like, he played it back to me, and I was like, all right. Yeah.
That'll work.
So hey, do you want to audition for Loyal Order?
Yeah.
Way cool. Way cool. Now, I want to respect you guys' time too. You've taken so much, and I so appreciate you guys. More music on the way. Do you have anything in the can? I know you're writing. You know, do you have any like leftovers from didn't make it to the first album, or anything you're tweaking or anything done?
We have a few actually, but nothing done. So we're just kind of right now, like we're gonna shoot a video for Fall to Rise actually. So
Nice.
not this weekend, but next weekend we're gonna start on it. There's a couple parts to it that one of the parts involves something completely separate. So I don't know how long it's gonna take to get that part, but we're gonna shoot the band part then, and so that'll be out soon. The video for that will be out really soon, and potentially Colorblind, and then we're going to go in the studio and we're going to probably track 3 or 4 new ones, and we'll probably pick a single out of that and release that, and in anticipation of the next record, and we'll drop a few singles along the way.
Yeah.
So
it's good news, man. Good news.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I'm very inspired by the newest stuff that we've been working on, like the one that I played for you at the beginning. That thing has got teeth already. It's just like, oh, the fangs are bared.
Yeah. Yep. We have about 4 that I'm just like really stoked about. Yeah. That there's one I wrote about my dad who passed away and quite a while ago, but and I recently lost my mom too, and that kind of helped me finish the song. Lost my mom like last month actually, and but Brandon brought it up one day. I'd written a song about my dad, and it was kind of like a country sounding thing, but really melodic, and we decided we're going to kind of put that to a mid-tempo rock ballad kind of thing, and we've got 3 or 4 that are really solid that I'm excited to get in and track the rhythm beds and start start building them.
Awesome. That's great, man. It's too cool. Well, guys, like I say, I want to respect your time. I know you guys got a full day. Man, thanks so much. It's so cool. And also I want to say, you guys are like real true men, man. Taking, the involvement you have with your kids. I know Brandon for sure, with your daughter and Jeff. I know we had to reschedule because you want to do something with your son to the airport, and that is I was so happy to hear that we had to reschedule because you being involved and wanting to do that, and like I say, I stayed home with my kids, and my kids are my life. And it's great to see from other guys, man. It's I love you guys, man. It's way cool.
Yeah, ditto, man. Totally, dude. Yeah, I mean, it's like, family first, right? It's like, at the end of our life, all we have is relationship. Everything else is just fluff,
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's too cool. Hey, keep in touch, and when you release more stuff, we'll do it again, man. I'll bring beer next time.
All right. All right, brother.
And hopefully someday this will lift, and we can really sit around and share a beer or two for sure.
That would be great, man. I'd love that. Well, we're gonna put that on the virtual calendar that's just gonna move around until we actually can pinpoint it.
There you go.
All right, man.
All right, man. Take care, bud.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys. Bye.